Ladies and gentlemen, we are here, and I am your host, RC Carlton, and I have a very special guest today. We have Lions fan extraordinaire and all-star. I've never said it out loud. Mike Danski.
That's right. That's right. Yeah.
There we go. I did all right. I'm an English teacher. A little bit of phonetic thing, a little bit of phonetics here. I'm trying to see if I can find my. I'm not sure if we're going to be online for. Of course, it doesn't want to work. But let's do your season so far. What have you thought of the Lions season so far this year?
Well, honestly, so far, I mean, obviously very well. Like when we first hired Dan Campbell and Brad Holmes 2 years ago, it was with the idea that it would probably be 2023 until we start seeing some results of their drafting and what they've been doing. And I think we're a little ahead of schedule, winning 10 games by week 17 and winning the division already locked up, and there's still a ways for this Lions team to go. I still think that there's probably a year away from being a serious Super Bowl contender. But I think right now they're in a good spot to, if they get hot, who knows? But I still think that it's been a wonderful season. I mean, a month ago, or even just a couple weeks ago, I started having a little bit of doubts because we played against Green Bay on Thanksgiving, really laid a turd. And honestly,
that was strange. Yeah,
it was. In 4 days earlier, we didn't play well against Chicago either. We just happened to squeak it out. So it was a weird week where we played really, really bad. And then we came back and played. And then we beat. I can't remember who was that game.
Killed them. It wasn't Seattle. It was Denver because I was thinking of Russell
Denver.
Wilson.
Yeah. And then so I was a little nervous going into Denver because we lost to Chicago after that as well. And, so I was a little nervous going to that game, but that was a very big turnaround in terms of like just having confidence that, okay, the ship's not sinking. We're still doing just fine. And then last week, up and down, but overall, a really good performance against Minnesota. I know they were down, a couple guys. Obviously, they had Mullins in there, quarterback, but still 4 interceptions, made plays when they needed to make them, the game-winning interception. The Lions' identity has been exactly what I thought it would be. They're going to run the ball first and foremost, and it was slow to get Gibbs started early in the season, but once we got him going, he's about a 50-50 partner with Monty right now, and he actually gets more out of the passing game, and he's been awesome. As soon as we started,
Gibbs is definitely he started. Yeah, it's well, I don't want to say with Bijan, but even with Bijan, they got him more involved, but it was dumber the way they did it. But Gibbs, you could see there was a plan, and he's very good, but he's not quite as explosive. Right. And y'all have a much better offense. So it's different, but it's similar in the way. But now he's rolling now. I mean, he's rolling with the screen game. We got everything going. So on the other hand, I'll talk about the Cowboys season. I think the Cowboys season has been up and down. We're so dominant against these horrible teams. And then we struggle against good teams. Even Miami, which I thought we had a chance to go on the road and win against Miami. And we still lost. Yeah. And this is a good time to beat us. But if you look at our home and road splits, they're really ridiculous. Yeah. I'm going to go over Dak's numbers real quick if I can find them. But they are outrageous. Or just our team. So we average 40 points a game at home, 6.1 yards per play, 8.4 yards per pass attempt. We're scoring 63% of our drives compared to 39%. We scored 21 points at home on a game. Again, 5 yards per play, 6.8. We are a super different team at home and away. And I don't know, a few years ago, we had Zeke in his prime. We won all our road games. So I never could figure this team out.
Right.
But what do you guys do on the road? How are you guys on the road?
I would say on the road, I was actually going to mention today that Jared Goff plays a lot better at Ford Field than he does in the way. A big part of that is he doesn't really do well outside. So the fact that it's indoors might even it out a little bit. But we've won some big road games this year. I'm not terribly concerned about that like I was in years past with good Lions teams, even like the Stafford teams when we were decent, go on the road and lay a turd. I'm not really worried about that much anymore. Baltimore was a disaster, but Baltimore also they're
a disaster for a lot of people. Yeah,
they're probably the best team in the league right now. So it's like
I think so. I agree.
It doesn't hurt so much. But overall, I think that we're definitely better at home. I trust us more at home. But the fact that this one's kind of indoors in a controlled environment gives me a lot more faith on Goff. But that because really, in my opinion, when it comes to home and away, it really depends on Goff. Like because he can really.
Yeah, the turnovers. It's like two different players. It really is. Sometimes he's so not. I wouldn't say safe, but sometimes he's just like there's no way he would throw an interception, and then sometimes they just come in bunches, and it's just. I've been a closet Goff fan. I thought he did a lot more, and they treat him like they treat Tua and Purdy. That's how they treated Goff in LA, and I think he has more. I think he's proven that he has more to offer than what they're saying. He's clearly not a system quarterback. He's just not elite. He's like a B or B plus even sometimes, So I don't have a problem with that as far as him as a quarterback. And when I saw it, I was like, that's interesting they got him. But I really thought it was more of like we'll just get him and grab him and then we'll get our quarterback in the future. What was the talk around him when y'all brought him in?
I can tell you my reaction when I first saw the trade happen, because all I had saw was if somebody texted me saying Stafford got traded for Jared Goff, and I said, and what else? Because if that's it,
yeah.
Like, and then 2 firsts, a third, and I was like, okay, cool, sounds good. I mean, my feeling on Goff was okay. Let's see how he plays these first 2, because we were locked into it for 2 years at least based on his contract. Like coming into this offseason, we could cut him for a very good savings, but I'm not sure we're going to do that anymore because this past 2 seasons, he's been very solid. But yeah, like you had mentioned, when he's good, he's as good as anybody, I think. But when he's bad, it's bad. Like he'll fumble balls he shouldn't. He'll throw into places, like especially that Chicago game at home or even on the road. Really against Chicago, he was throwing balls. I don't know who the hell he's looking for, but it wasn't Tremaine Edmonds, I assume. And he would throw. It would just be right there. And then he'll have games like Denver or earlier this year against Atlanta or Tampa Bay, where he'd put the ball on the money in like a 40-yard shot. So he's up and down, but when he's on, I feel like the Lions can beat just about anybody with him. When he's off, we'll lose to Chicago.
This is the game I've been worried about because I felt like through most of the season until maybe the Eagles game that y'all were actually better than us. Now, I think especially at home, I think we're better. It would be a disaster for us to lose this game. Also, motivation too. I've been talking about this with Allen every Sunday. Motivation and desperation. Y'all are not desperate. You can't manipulate it. You aren't desperate. We're kind of desperate because we're still trying to win a division, and it would prove that we couldn't beat another good team. Now, that could happen because we're prone to do these kind of things. So, on your mind, what do you think the keys to victory are for you guys?
I think Buffalo 2 weeks ago, especially when I was watching that game, I remember watching them run the ball on them, and I said,
"Me too."
And I was sitting there going, like, "Well, if we're going to beat Dallas, we're going to have to run for 180 yards, and I think we can do it." Like, I'm not 100%. Our offensive line is completely healthy for really the last couple of weeks for the first time all season, and our offense has looked totally different when they're all healthy, and they're all healthy for this game. So I feel like and Goff also is very good on play action. And Dallas is good. They're a great defense. They really are. But they are prone to the big play. And that's where I think Jamison Williams is going to come into play at some point. I think they're going to have something drawn up for a big play for him, either on a big reverse or a flea flicker to him. I would expect it either probably in the first 2 quarters. I feel like Ben Johnson's going to have something drawn up for JMO to do that. But it's going to have to start with a healthy dose of David Montgomery in the first quarter. It's going to be 4 or 5 yards at a time with David Montgomery. And if he can get going, that'll open up a lot more things. Laporte underneath. We can work Gibbs out and give him more carries. Gibbs usually doesn't take the reins on the running until about maybe second quarter, midway, until maybe late first quarter. We almost always start with Montgomery.
He kind of softs him up.
And if he can get going early, I feel good about our chances. What concerns me a little bit is the Dallas offense at home versus our defense
on the road,
which can be so rough, especially like I said on the road. That's where we've probably looked our roughest. I mean, like Nick Mullins threw for 400 yards last week. The 4 interceptions notwithstanding, if you get guys open on us, they're going to have space. It's just one of those things. And
what happened to your defense? I feel like now it wasn't good last year, but you made the is it Aaron Glenn? Is it that your defense coordinator? Yeah, Aaron Glenn. So you switched. You fired the black man, but you replaced him with another black man. Didn't you fire somebody last year?
No, Aaron Glenn's
so you fired. You stuck with him. I can't remember
since Campbell got there.
Okay, they were calling for it and it never happened. Okay. So anyway, they made the adjustments and then you got a little better towards the end of the season. Then it seemed like at the beginning you were doing all right, but now you're not the worst defense, but now you're back at the bottom 5 of the league. So what have you seen change up?
Well, I think early on in the season we were getting more pressure, more sacks. Like we didn't really burst out until Atlanta. We got 7 sacks in that game. But really our interior pressure has been tough. Like Ali McNeil was having a good year. Wasn't racking up a lot of sacks, but he was doing real good at pushing the pocket to getting Hutchinson some space. But we're not getting that much right now. A lot of our defensive tackles are run stuffers. And if there was one major part of the Lions moving forward that they need to address this coming off season, I think is interior defensive line. We got a lot of guys who are very good hands. Like they're very solid, but they're not going to do anything exceptional. They're not going to make the big play when we need it. We're not going to there's not even Aaron Donald light. We don't have that guy. We just have a bunch of really solid defensive players, defensive linemen. And even then, maybe not even so solid. But that's the major issue with our defense, I would say, because our coverage has been solid. I really like Brian Branch. He's been making play after play after play.
Yeah, he's big. He's good.
Cam Sutton is really going to be the guy that's going to be big tonight because he's going to see a lot of CeeDee Lamb. He saw a lot of Justin Jefferson last week. He's going to have to be that guy this week. And do I feel confident about it? I mean, Sutton's very, very good. He just has a tendency. Like last week, if he'll be very solid for a lot, and then all of a sudden he'll have one breakdown, and that's 40 yards. And so, and with Lamb, that's what concerns me. I think Lamb could very well have a big night tonight. I have him in a couple bets for 100 yards, just to put it out there.
Yeah. I got his anytime touchdown. I got him in a couple going over, so he should be able to get loose on y'all. He's in the slot, but then he moves around a lot more than he used to, and that's what part of his success. I wanted to break down when we had the ball, even though we kind of talked about that. So let's switch it around to when y'all have the ball. Now, for us, 2 things. I looked at an ESPN report, and basically we play more man than any other team, and Goff is incredible against man. Now, if you have noticed or not, have you noticed that he's better against man or zone, or is that something If not, that's fine. But I saw some of that since you're a fan.
No, absolutely. I saw those stats. It's really not surprising because a lot of the interceptions Goff threw, especially against Chicago. Chicago threw a lot of zone at us, and a lot of his interceptions where he was thrown to a spot and there was someone standing there. So I think there is something to that. I have noticed that anytime he has interception problems, it's generally against zone concepts. But against what concerns me is if we can't get the running game going, early, like I said, with Montgomery, if we're struggling getting that going and we have to stand back and no play action, just standing.
Yeah, that's what we need to see.
That would be
that's what the Cowboy fan needs to see.
That's exactly right. Because even though I love our tackles, you're still going against Micah Parsons, and he's going to win a rep or two. He's going to, against Penei Sewell, against any tackle out there, he's going to win a rep.
He might not on Sewell, but we're going to move him. But he could. Right. But we're going to move him around. I don't think we want any of Sewell. He's having a career. But, I mean, it could still happen. Micah's Micah. But, sheesh, Sewell is a beast. I think when we – did I do it the wrong way around?
No, you're good.
Yeah, but Detroit had the ball, our defense. I think if we can get pressure – and not have to blitz. But let me show you these stats. So let me tell you these stats. So by coverage, against man, he has a 75 QBR, 17 touchdowns, 0 interceptions. Against he's like the greatest quarterback of all time. Zone, 53 QBR, 10 picks, 10 interceptions. 10 touchdowns, 10 picks. So it's a stark difference. And we play a lot of man, but what we did last week, which I thought was great, I do think I really think Dan Quinn should be daggone coach, but maybe not. But we played a lot of cover 2 shell because we couldn't handle Tyreek and Waddle. So I wonder how we'll do. I wonder if we'll play what we normally play and be really aggressive, or we'll play cover 2 because they might not respect y'all. Even though St. Brown's a beast, got him a fantasy, trying to win a championship, and he's just a beast. But I wonder if they'll have the same respect that they had for Miami.
I believe, I think that would be the safest way to play against Detroit, especially like I said, like what Detroit, if they're doing what I think they should do, and I believe they will, they're going to try to run early to get the play action going, to get the deep ball going. But I will say that in our worst times, like when the Lions are struggling, sometimes Ben Johnson, who I love, I think he's been fantastic, and he will be a head coach maybe even next year.
He better be.
I would say it's a safe bet. He's going to be a head coach next year. There are times, however, where he can be a little too cute. Like we'll give the ball to Montgomery 5 yards, Montgomery 4 yards, Montgomery 6 yards, and then all of a sudden we'll come out 5 wide with no play action and try to throw. And it's like, yeah. What are we doing? Like, we just keep doing what we're doing, and we're moving the ball very well. So sometimes we have the tendency to get a little too cute and a little too trying to predict what the defense is going to do before they do it. When really, I think this is the perfect game where everything we want to do, Dallas struggles against. Like, we want to get the running game going. We have a chance to do that today with a full offensive line and a defense that is, while they're very athletic, they're small. So we have a size advantage. So if we just keep pushing the ball a little bit more, pushing the ball in the running game, we'll get some deep balls going on the play action, especially underneath for Laporta. I also think this is a good game for Sam Laporta. I think this will be a good chance. I think he'll get. I had him for 40 yards. I think that's pretty fair. I also have him for a touchdown. I like Laporta tonight. I think because he bounces back from, because last week against Minnesota he was pretty non-existent. But I think that this week will be a big week for him, especially, again, it's really going to come down to if Detroit struggles against running the ball in the first quarter, it's not going to be good. Like, I can tell you right now, we're going to have a tough time, because if it's just Goff standing back there with Micah Parsons, as good as our offensive line is, as I said before, he's going to win a rep or two. And in that rep, he might rip the ball out. And so it's just we're going to have
Lawrence too, which people sleep on. Lawrence,
I was going to say D-Law as well, because that's one thing Parsons has that Hutch doesn't have. Aiden Hutch doesn't have, is a partner on the other side that's going to draw attention.
I was going to say that. Yeah, I was going to lead into that. You kind of said about the interior. How do you feel about the line overall? We know Hutchinson is a beast. The people that doubted him, you were wrong. And they move, and I was going to say also, they move him inside a lot, and that's probably your best interior rush. But how do you feel about, and we don't have Tyrion Smith. I think he's out. I'm trying to see the injury report for Smith. He is doubtful with his back. And we're a different team when he's not there. It's very similar to San Francisco and Trent Williams. I'm not saying he's as good as Trent Williams. I'm saying maybe at some point he might have been as good as Trent Williams. But he's very good too. And if we don't have him, it's a totally different team. You got anything else on the edge besides Hutchinson?
I mean, like I said, we just have a collection of, again, decent to good options, if that. Like, certainly I don't have a lot of faith that Romeo or Quara is going to make the big play to end the game. It's not going to be. We got some decent guys. Charles Harris, I don't know if he's active today or if he's even going to play. But again, we just have a list of names that are fine. I don't. If you're asking me, do I think that if we need a sack, am I trusting these guys to get it? No. But I would trust Hutchinson, yes. But Hutchinson also draws a ton of double teams.
Yeah,
and I don't think that's.
If you don't have anybody else, why wouldn't you?
I don't think that's going to change at all. I think Dallas, if they're smart, they'll chip them. They got a great collection of tight ends, including Schoonmaker, who we love him, but yeah, no, they have a good collection of tight ends, and I think they're going to use them a lot on Hutch. I think that it's going to come down to if Hutch can break free and kind of win some reps and get pressures. He gets a ton of pressures. Like, his sack number is low this year, but he leads the league in the top 3 in pressures and quarterback hits. So if
it could be game changing on so many levels.
And if he can make Dak just even a little uncomfortable, make him run around a little bit, I feel good about that. But like I said before, like, our D line is really Hutchinson and a bunch of not awful players, but they're certainly not going to win the game for you. But Dallas offensive line is solid. I think that for the most, against our D line, I think that like I said, we're just going to have people are going to have to win reps that they're not used to winning if to continue to make Dak uncomfortable. Because if Dak has time back there, like I said, I that's why I feel like Lamb might have a big night tonight, because if he has a lot of time, he'll get open.
I don't know how many matchups have, but how many? Well, I guess maybe he saw him a little bit. But how has Branch done against closer to elite receivers? Has he had any matchups? Did he get Jefferson a little bit last game? Or,
Yeah, he got a lot of Jefferson. Like I said, that was mostly a Cam Sutton assignment, and it tends to be who we put on the number ones. Branch, we play kind of around a little bit. He is a starting safety. We also play him a lot at nickel. I think when we drafted him, that was the idea that he was going to be the nickel, and then we had, of course, but he was going to kind of learn under C.J. Gardner-Johnson, who then got hurt in week 3.
Yeah,
he's good. It sounds like he's going to be back for the playoffs because he's already practicing with a torn pec. I mean, so who knows? But the idea behind that was to let him kind of learn from CJ, get some time. But it turned in camp, he was unbelievable. Like from the beginning, like he was already one of our best defensive players. And he did that early. He made the big play against Kansas City, the interception for the touchdown. He made a couple big plays last week, dropped an interception in the end zone early in the game. But yeah, he's a ball hawk. He's just one of those guys who's always around the ball. And he's had some amazing pass defenses, like one against last week against Osborne. He had it in his hands and he was able to knock it out. Osborne was getting ready to catch it, and Branch was already having his hand in front of his hands. Like it's just one of those one of those smart plays that a veteran makes, and he's a rookie.
So he's a natural feel. He's wise beyond his years if a football can play every day. I really like the kind of draft, but they don't value safeties anymore, slot corners, but they're crucial because you got CD Lamb who plays at least 50% of the time in the slot. So you need somebody that can come down and play in the slot, and he just does everything. So give it to me with your heart. I mean, give it to me with your mind and not your heart. Let's prediction time.
Well, if you're betting, I think the line was Lions 4.5.
It's gone up to 5.5.
5.5. I actually really like that because I think that it's going to be a close game. So even if Dallas wins, I like it to be within 3. And so I would take the Lions with the points. But if I'm picking straight up, maybe pick a score prediction, I would say something in the area of 30-27 Detroit. It's going to be high scoring. I think both offenses are going to move the ball down the field. It's going to come down to red zone. It's going to come down who scores in the red zone, who has to settle for field goals. And Dan Campbell, if we're in the red zone, if it's 4th and 5, we're going. We're going
Hopefully
for it.
That'll backfire against you. That would be great if it backfired against you. I think my prediction, we're so strong at home. We average 40 points a game. I don't see the Lions stopping that. I don't know if we'll have 40 points, but I don't see y'all stopping that. We play so well at home. Also, y'all are indoor, outdoor. So are we, but we're really good on turf, whether it's indoor and outdoor. So give me 35-28. Yeah, let's do 35-28. It won't be a blowout, even though part of me feels like a blowout, but I respect the Lions too much. I just feel we're in that spot, But give me 35-28 Cowboys. And how do you see, last question, how do you see the rest of the season going?
Well, I was telling you before we got on, honestly, I feel a heck of a lot less pressure going into these last 2 weeks because Lions already clinched the home playoff game. It's already done. Now it's a matter of seeding, whether they're going to be the 3, 2, or the 1. The 1 is possible. San Francisco has to lose 1 more, and they have LA. So if the Lions win the next 2, they could be in the running for the 1 seed. How I think it's going to go, I mean, it really, again, it's going to depend on if they win this one, then the 1 seed is very much in their grasp, and they're going to keep kind of playing. They're kind of playing it out. I don't see a Dan Campbell team just kind of taking it easy because last year we had nothing to play for, and we went in and beat Green Bay.
Still
everything to play for.
Yeah.
So they're gonna go for the 1 seed. They're gonna play their hearts out. Will it be enough tonight? I'm not sure because the one thing that the storyline that I think about going into this game is Dallas is going to play, like you had mentioned earlier, with I think a little bit more motivation than Detroit. Lions are coming off of a high, winning against a division rival to clinch the division. Dallas is coming off of some tough losses where they should have won against Miami. They got kind of manhandled against Buffalo in a weird way. I did not see that coming, but it gave me hope.
Nobody did.
It gave me hope for this game that, hey, if we just do what Buffalo did, we got a shot. But I think the most likely scenario, if I'm being neutral, would be that they'll probably finish out 1-1. I think tonight is a lot likelier of a loss than next week, but I see us finishing as probably the 2 seed. That's my most likely scenario. I think we finish 2 seed, and I think we play either Minnesota or I almost said St. Louis, the Rams, Los Angeles. So that's how I feel like it's going to end up, but I could also see us ending up as the 3 seed.
Mm-hmm. And then how do you think you match up against Philly and San Francisco?
Philly, I think we do very well against. I don't have a problem going up against Philadelphia. San Francisco on the road, because that's the most likely scenario.
Oh yeah,
don't have a lot of faith in that one.
Well, it's tough. They're a really good team. It's not easy.
It would have to be one of those perfect storm games where we didn't make any mistakes and somehow they threw picks.
And it's outside on grass. I mean, y'all still like a fast turf too, outside on grass, so it'd be a very difficult game. But you got to be happy with where y'all are, because Dan Campbell's done it. He's proven me wrong. He's legit. My only hope, I still hate the meathead. Make no question. There's no question about it. But I got to.
I didn't want to bring it up. I want to let you do it.
When Ben Johnson is gone, that's the secret sauce. What do you guys got anything in the wings that you know of, or what do you think it looks like next year?
That's the interesting question. I don't have any names off the top of my head on the staff that are obvious choices to fill that. Part of me thinks that it would have to be an outside hire, because I remember even just 2 years ago when we had Anthony Lynn as our OC. I always knew about Ben Johnson because I'd heard rumblings about, hey, the tight ends coach is helping with the passing game, and so I knew about him. So when we've moved on from Lynn, I kind of had a feeling Ben Johnson would step in. I really don't have a name for you to fill in for that, but
then you might go outside of the team.
Yeah, I would agree, and I think that it's an interesting question because that's something people have brought up, and I've seen people say that, like, is Campbell good without Ben Johnson? And it's a fair question because we've seen him without Ben Johnson.
Plays. Let's see how that works. Let your boy spin it. Let Dan spin it next year. Let's see how it goes.
We'll see. I
don't know.
I think a lot of people
at some point get more input, and they started running. I seem to remember that they started running more because he was giving more input or whatever. But or it could have been maybe the first year. I don't know. But yeah. So anyway, thanks for coming on, man. I would wish you good luck, but I cannot today. I generally don't, but I'm not mad at it. I'm happy for you. Anytime anytime a team that has been down long, it succeeds, part of me is happy, even if they have a meathead coach.
I feel the same way about Cleveland and all those. So, I totally get it.
All right, folks, enjoy the game. Thank you, sir.